Hello, my name is Scott Marker, and this is another episode of Treasure Valley Quick Tips. What it is I'm the franchise owner of a network in action franchise. I run once a month networking groups. I have 3 here in the Valley. The franchise is out of Houston, Texas. And through that, I meet a lot of really high caliber people in their fields. And I love to bring them on and share their knowledge with the audience. So today is like the fourth of a 4-part series. Kory, why don't you introduce yourself?
Yeah, good morning, Scott. Thanks again for having me on. And we were joking this morning that we tend to record all these on holidays and vacations. So thanks for being here another Monday morning.
Yeah, hey, no problem. Thanks. And the first, if you want to go back and listen to the previous episodes, the first one was on the current market conditions here in the Treasure Valley, Idaho. That's what we're talking about. That's we all Kory and I both live here, and record high housing costs, which have slowed down, but they're still record high. Interest rates are going up. So we thought we'd just kind of do a series here and kind of lay out some different information for buyers and sellers. Second episode was, what do you do if you're a buyer or seller? What do you need to know? And Kory did a great job, because again, I mentioned on the previous episodes that I've been out of the market for over a decade. So I wouldn't have a clue of which way to go. So that was armed me with some good information, which we'll talk about again today. Creative financing options. That was last week with Tom Kirchmeyer of Fulcrum Home Loans. And I'll tell you, he's a broker. So he has, multiple lenders to go to. So he had some really interesting things on lending that I thought was good to know, because again, a lot of times you only hear the negative stuff on the news, and you go to someone like Tom that has all these different lenders, you find out you can get a loan on a house, right? So that was it. And today is kind of like, what's the future outlook? And Kory and I talked about it before we got on, and we don't have a crystal ball.
Yeah. I think, like Scott was saying, we don't have a crystal ball, but I'm fortunate enough to really pay attention to a lot of the data and everything that's out there. And no one knows what's going to happen, even a week down the road. Last week too, we recorded Monday morning, and that following next couple of days were some of the worst days in mortgage on mortgage rates, like in history. Right. Like they went up like crazy last week. So no one knows exactly what's going to happen, but we have our ear to the ground and pay attention to everything going on. And hopefully, we can kind of get ahead of the curve a little bit on anything that's changing. So,
right. And you just said about some data. What I'm sure you look at stats and stuff like that. What are you looking at right now? I mean, is it kind of like, who knows even that? What are you looking at?
I mean, it's really hard to forecast too far down the road, but I think a few things that we pay attention to, and one being interest rates. I think it's pretty common knowledge that they're not going to be back to the historic lows that we've had for at least a while. So we're kind of dealing with a higher interest rate environment, but just paying attention to new listings that are coming on the market. So a couple things I thought I could share with your listeners would be to pay attention to like new homes coming on the market. How many are going pending and sold on a weekly and monthly basis. And one place we go to all the time, which is kind of funny, but it's this Redfin. Many people have heard of Redfin to go like search for houses. So they have a really good like data center. Oh. So they pay a lot of people quite a bit of money to pay attention to the housing market. So you can just go on to Redfin, you can Google it, search like housing data, and there's like great data for every county in the United States. You can look at a national level, you can type in like Ada County, Canyon County, and just take a look at what's going on. And so like one thing that I thought was pretty interesting just in the last month or so, because preparing for this, I hopped on there and just wanted to see the most current data, and like listings are actually going down the last few weeks. So we might have even hit that kind of the top of the spring. Everyone's listing who thinks they can get kind of that, what we're calling the COVID premium for their house. And so after they kind of realize, one, we're probably not going to get the COVID premium that we could have gotten 6 months ago to list our house, but two, kind of the seasonality of just less listings going on in the summer than normally in the spring. So yeah, Redfin's great for the data. Another resource we look at pretty closely is the National Association for Realtors. They have a lot of data too, and you can hop on there, check it out, as well as some of the local realtor boards and things like that. They come out with stats every month. So if you're thinking of buying or selling, obviously ask your agent. They should have access to all this data, but you can actually look a lot of this up too and kind of pay attention to what's going on out there.
So who benefits right now by the current, situation where before, we talked about it was slowing down, and now they keep doing the interest rate hikes. But the challenge is a seller that had a house that had to be sold on contingency, didn't have the money to put down without selling another house. That for a while there, cash offers were king and queen and just dominate. So now in this environment, is it more of an advantage for someone selling or buying?
Yeah, so I mean, technically by what they say, it's still a seller's market, but even though that's the case, buyers have a ton more leverage than they've had in the past few years. So it's turning into a buyer's market or a more balanced market where, there's actually some negotiation on repairs and offers and things like that. So yeah.
You don't you don't skip the inspection.
Yeah, you don't have to skip the inspection, which is nice. You don't have to turn in a blank offer and hope that they sign it. But yeah, so it's getting back to a more balanced market. Buyers have a little bit of leverage for sure.
Yeah, one thing we talked about before for this episode is that a lot of people. So the question asked you is this a good time to buy or sell, right? But before you answer that, we talked before the podcast, and I just said, hey, what happens if your employer's moving you to Idaho and they're paying, giving you a big chunk of money to move here, right? And you can use part of that as a down payment. So you have the resources to buy a house, right? So, or I know somebody here recently that their wife got a really nice job offer. They made up a job for him back east somewhere, and he had like 4 weeks. I mean, they had to be moved in 4 weeks. So he tried to sell it himself because I guess he's an agent and stuff, but he was kind of struggling. But there's a good example of they had to sell the house. So
yeah.
So right now, so so if you have to buy or sell, what should you do? And then if you none of those cases, just is it a good time to buy or sell right now?
Yeah. So I mean, there's always going to be real estate transactions going on. People are, like you said, moving or get new jobs or whatever. But I think, a year down the road, we're probably going to look back at this time and be like, man, that was actually a really good time to buy a house. Just because I think there's going to be some good deals to be had out there this summer. So if you are looking to buy and you can afford the payment, I think you're going to look back and see this time as a really good buying opportunity, just because you can find some good deals out there. People that need to sell, who normally could wait till they get a top-notch offer, who are needing to sell and might be willing to look at an offer for a little less than they normally would. Right.
And that's something that you mentioned on a previous episode that again, that's why I bring you on, because I just didn't think about it, but it's the, no-brainer thing is that if you can afford the payments right now, right, and whatever, you have the resources and you're looking to buy a house, you're going to get a little bit better deal, like you mentioned, because there's not so many cash offers going down. It can be contingency, but if you can afford the payment right now, I think the interest rates are going to go up again right here next month. That's what it looks like, right? Well, why would you want to wait till next month if you're going to buy? I mean, if you're going to sell or buy, right? Why would you wait for the interest rates to go up? And then two, if you can afford it and you do buy a house, like let's say here in the next couple of weeks, you bought a house, the interest rates tick up. You're like, yay, at least, not perfect, but certainly not, another basis point went up. But then you live in your house for 3 years, or 4 years, and the interest rates dropped to whatever they dropped to. But let's say half of what your rate is. Refinance your house, and then you're living in your dream house and you can afford it. I mean, then you have a really good payment. I don't know. That was just something. Do you have some? That was something I learned from you. Is that what some of your buyers and sellers are thinking?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. And who knows how long that would be? It could be a year, it could be 5 years, it could be 10 years, but
Right.
I I'm fairly confident in saying that, sometime in the next 10 years, interest rates are going to be a lot less than they are right now. So I think there'll be some opportunities out there as long as, like you said, you can afford the payment right now. There should be some good buying opportunities and refinancing opportunities down the road.
Right. So, so, so is there anything else that we should know right now? I mean, if you're a buyer or seller, I mean, um, are there any, I mean, like you said, you gave us say those two again, those two websites, the Redfin, is that what it was?
Yeah, Redfin has really good data.
Okay.
The National Association of Realtors, which is called
Okay.
NAR,
Yeah. Yeah.
they have some good data. Your local board, so here locally is the Boise Regional Realtors. They have data that they compile every month. That's really good as well. Redfin's sometimes can be a little more up to date than the local stuff, but
Okay.
they're all really good resources just to pay attention to, and ask your realtor out there if they can pull that data for you and just really help you make an educated decision with what you're looking to do.
So what, and real quick on the Redfin again, what does that help a buyer or seller do? That information?
Yeah, so you can
You
just
said
see
like I
like,
live in Caney County. So what could help somebody? I was going to move in Caney County. What could help me
yeah,
if I
so
want
you
to
can
stay
see,
here?
so if you're wanting to buy or sell,
Let's say I wanted to buy and sell my house and buy another house.
yeah. So you can see kind of what the competition is. So you can see how many new
Oh,
listings are coming on the market.
okay.
You can see how many every week is going pending. So, if there's 200 new houses going on the market and 150 are going pending every month, then you can kind of gauge how long it's going to take for you to sell your house.
Oh, okay.
You can, yeah, and you can see the price, like what percentage of houses are going above asking price. There's all types of different data, like how many, what the median list price is, what the sale price is, how many days it's taken to close a house, like how many days on market. A lot of different data points that can just help you make a good decision. And again, you should have an agent who's walking you through this data,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
hopefully explaining it to you. And because every house is a little different, every neighborhood's a little different, but yeah, that's a great starting point, just knowing what's going on in the market.
yeah. And that's great because years ago, 20, selling my first house ish around that area, and I unfortunately got a realtor that was a nice person, but didn't overprice my house.
Mhm.
And I didn't have I didn't she didn't share with me any of those resources, and so I didn't know. But
Yeah,
I found out when a couple months went through and no one even looked at my house, and all houses around me were selling. But again, because I need if I would have had that information, I would have said something to the realtor and said, hey, here in my area, or they, so anyway, those tools are really helpful because, like I said, I've experienced when I didn't have that information and my house
yeah,
was way overpriced and it hurt me.
yeah. And we're trying to be really cautious on our pricing right now for our sellers. Is we don't want to be way overpriced in the market. There is more choices out there for buyers than there has been in years, and so we want to catch people's eye both on the price and the presentation, and not be that house that's way overpriced that's not getting any showings or anything like that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. The moral of the story: get a good realtor like Kory.
yeah.
So hey, how could people find you, Kory?
Yeah, so Grounded Realty Group, or excuse me, Grounded Realty is our website. Grounded Realty Group's our small team that we run here with eXp Realty. So you're happy to hop on the website, give me a call, 208-817-3006. We're always happy to help people buying, selling, investing, building. So whatever you need here in the Treasure Valley, or if you just need someone to go over the data with you, we're happy to do
Yeah.
that too.
That's perfect. And I'll put, like always, I'll put your contact information in the show notes. But now this has been really good because, like I said, I really appreciate you, Kory, because um, I've listened to other shows that have a lot of realtors on them, and it's always the perfect time to buy or sell. And you're like, some people, maybe it's not. I love the honesty because in some situations right now, the interest rate, it isn't right. But
Yeah.
if it is right, then you and Tom, and I've shared a lot of great information to at least arm give a seller or buyer a lot more information.
Yeah, that's what we try to do. So
Yeah. Well, perfect, Kory. I appreciate you, especially coming in here on the holidays and on your vacations and stuff. So, hey, this has been another episode of the Treasure Valley Quick Tips, and I appreciate the audience. If you have any questions, please reach out to Kory. Hey, thanks.